Good morning everyone. I continue light. Yesterday we discussed few points regarding light. Effect of light on movement. Effect of light on movement we already discussed. Now we are going to discuss effect of light on vision and behavior. Effect of light on vision and behavior. Light is essential for vision. Light is essential for vision, and light also influences the behavior. Light rays reach the brain via eyes. In some animals, if the brain continuously receiving the light rays active, they are known as diurnal animals. In some animals, if the brain continuously receives the light rays via eyes, they are inactive. They are known as nocturnal animals. In this manner, light influences the behavior. Animals active during daytime, diurnal animals, they are going for searching of food material during daytime. And during night time, they are unable to visualize. That's why they take rest. Nocturnal animals, the animal active during night time, nocturnal. Why this change in the behavior? Availability or non-availability of light. So, in all organisms, the light rays reach the brain via eyes. In some animals, if the brain receives the light rays, at the time animals are active. They are known as diurnal. In some animals, if the brain receives the light rays, the animals are inactive. They are known as nocturnal animals. In this manner, light influences the behavior of organisms. Diurnal, nocturnal. Simple definition: the animals active during daytime, diurnal animals. Human beings also diurnal. The animals active during night time, nocturnal. So carnivores are nocturnal. Animal feed on flesh of other organisms, carnivores. They are nocturnal. So light is essential for vision. With the help of light only, we visualize the things, maybe natural light or artificial light. We are able to visualize the things. In this manner, light is essential for vision and behavior. Effect of light. Effect of light on biorhythms. Effect of light on biorhythm. What is biorhythm? In animal, some behavior repeated at a regular intervals. They are known as biorhythms. Some behavior repeated at a regular interval of 24 hours. They are known as circadian rhythms. What are circadia? Circa means day. 24 hours. Some behaviors repeated at a regular interval of 24 hours known as circadian rhythms. For example, crow, cock, everyday, herald. Herald means announce that sun is rising, wake up. Every day, for example, 5 a.m. Today at 5 a.m. Tomorrow also 5 a.m. At regular interval of 24 hours. Similarly, flock of birds. Every day return to their nest. by producing chirping sounds. Today 6 p.m. tomorrow also 6 p.m. at regular interval of 24 hours. Similarly, photosynthesis also a circadian rhythm. Today the plants may start at 6:15 or 6 a.m. Tomorrow also at 6 a.m. at a regular interval depending upon the season. In summer, sun rises at early time. In winter, maybe summer sun rises at 5:30 onwards. In winter, sun rises at 6:30 depending upon the season. So same time. So the plants start photosynthesis at a particular time also, circadian rhythm. Similarly, we waking from the bed at a particular time, that is also circadian rhythm. Carnivores go for searching of food material at a particular time. For example, lion go for searching of food material from 11 p.m. today, tomorrow also 11 p.m. known as circadian rhythm. Biorhythm means in animals some behavior, not only animals, organisms. In organisms some behaviors repeated at a regular intervals known as biorhythm. Some behaviors repeated at a regular interval of 24 hours known as circadian rhythm. Crow and cock, heralding. Heralding means announcing. Sun is rising, wake up. Today at 5 a.m. Tomorrow also at 5 a.m. This behavior repeated at a regular interval of 24 hours. Similarly, flock of birds return to their nest every day. For example, today 6 p.m. Tomorrow also 6 p.m. at regular interval of 24 hours. Similarly, plants start photosynthesis in a particular season at the same time. For example, today the plants start photosynthesis at 6 a.m. Tomorrow also the plants start the photosynthesis at 6 a.m. only, 24 hours. So next one is monthly rhythm, biorhythm. Some behavior repeated monthly. So for example, menstrual cycle, monthly rhythm. Similarly, some behavior repeated at a regular interval of 1 year known as circa-annual rhythms. Circa-annual rhythm. Behavior repeated at a regular interval of 1 year, circa-annual rhythm. Most of the primitive animals reproduce in a particular day, once in a year, breeding season. During full moon, some animal during full moon they reproduce, some animal during no moon, some animal during new moon they reproduce. So some behavior repeated at a regular interval of 1 year known as circa-annual rhythm. Some behavior repeated monthly rhythm. Some behavior repeated every day, that is known as circadian rhythm. So all these behaviors are under the control of biological clock. Biological clock. So what is the influence of light? Light set or reset the biological clock. Light influence means it set or reset the biological clock. Effect of light on biorhythms. The effect of light on photoperiodism. Photoperiodism. What is photo period? Available daylight. Available daylight is known as photo period. If any change occur in the length of photo period, change occur in the behavior of organisms known as photoperiodism. What is photoperiodism? If any change occur in the length of daylight, change occur in the behavior of organisms. This change in the behavior of organisms is known as photoperiodism. At the equator, 12 hours photoperiod is available irrespective of seasons. During summer, if you go from equator to poles, daylight, for example, it is the daylight 12 hours. What happens? Equator to pole, available daylight increases during summer. During summer, available daylight increase from equator to poles. That's why during summer in tundras, 24 hours daylight available. So available daylight increases during summer. In winter, for example, it is the daylight 12 hours. Available daylight decreases during winter. For example, in Europe, for example, London, during summer, sun rises at 3 a.m., sets at 10:45 p.m. Sun rises at 3 a.m., sets at 10:45 p.m. More than 19 hours daylight. Same in winter. In London, sun rises at 8 a.m., sets at 3 p.m. Only 7 hours daylight. So, India is a tropical country. That's why normal people may think available day is the same throughout the season. Truly in India also, during summer, available daylight. So, during summer, daylight is available from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. 13 hours. During winter, sun rises at 6:30, sets at 5:30 p.m. 11 hours daylight. In India also, during summer, 13 hours daylight available. During winter, 11 hours daylight available. But we move from equator to poles. During summer, available daylight increases. From equator to poles, if we move during winter, available daylight decreases. The change in the photo period influences the behavior of organism. It is known as photoperiodism. For example, in case of plants, plants are long day plants, short day plants, long day plants, short day plants, day neutral plants. Day neutral plants, long day plants. The plants give flowers during summer. Why summer? More daylight, photoperiod is more. The plants giving flowers during long days, long day plants. The plants bloom or giving flowers during summer, known as long day plant. Short day plants. Short day plant means the plants giving flowers during winter. The photoperiod is short day plants. Means in long day plants, the reproductive system is influenced by photoperiod. So more photoperiod. If photoperiod or available daylight is more, the reproductive system is stimulated. In short day plants, the available daylight is short. The reproductive system is influenced. So the plants giving flowers or the plants bloom during winter, known as short day plants. What are day neutral plants? The plants giving flowers throughout the year, known as day neutral plants, mean photo period not influence the reproductive system of day neutral plants. Similarly, bird migration, example for photoperiodism. Siberia is near the poles, North Pole. During winter, available daylight is less, only 4 or 5 hours. So in Siberian birds, the gonads shrink. The gonads means testes in males, ovaries in female. The gonads shrink. They fail to release gametes. That's why Siberian birds and birds from colder region during winter migrated to tropical country like India. So several migratory birds you can see in Keoladea Ghana National Park, Rajasthan. Keoladea Ghana National Park, Rajasthan. So why available photo period is more in tropical country, maybe Siberia 4 hours. So in India 11 hours. So that means photo period available in India is more when compared to Siberia. That's why Siberian birds migrated to India. So they reproduce. In the meantime, season changes. Summer. In summer, available daylight is more in Siberia. That's why Siberian birds are birds from colder climate. They go back to their home during summer. So bird migration is an example for photoperiodism. Their migration is influenced by change in the photo period. What is photo period? Available daylight. Available daylight is known as photo period. If any change occur in the photo period, it influences the behavior of organisms. So the change in the photo period influences the behavior of organisms is known as photoperiodism. The change in the photo period also influences the reproductive system of plants. Long day plants, the plants bloom flowers during long days if photo period is more. So if photo period is short, in some plants the reproductive system is influenced, so they bloom flowers, a short day plant. Some plants bloom throughout the year, means the reproductive system is not influenced by changes in the photo period. Bird migration is another example for photoperiodism. Siberia near the North Pole, during winter available daylight is short. The gonads shrink, means the birds fail to reproduce. That's why Siberian birds and several birds from the poles, they migrated to tropical countries like India. So some birds migrated to Keoladea Ghana National Park, Rajasthan. They produce offsprings. In the meantime, season changes. In summer, available daylight is more in Siberia. That's why they go back their home. So bird migration is an example for photoperiodism. Next one is bioluminescence. In same topic, light, bioluminescence. Bioluminescence. Emission of light by living organisms is known as bioluminescence. Emission of light by living organisms is known as bioluminescence. Why organisms emit light? So generally most of the marine animals emit light. Few exceptions, fireflies, even though they are terrestrial insects, they emit light. But particularly most of the marine animals emit light. Reason is, for marine animals, so light penetrates slightly more than 500 meters. Beyond 500 meters, no light, darkness only. That's why some animals release light, emit light to identify the path, enemy, predator, prey, mate. The protein essential for bioluminescence known as luciferin protein. The luciferin protein undergo oxidation. As a result, cold light. Why? Heat is not accompanied. So no heat is seen, generated. So cold light or light is known as bioluminescence. Example, jellyfishes. Squids, Chaetopterus is a enlidon. Squid means loligo, mollusca. Similarly, cephalopoda, pyrosoma belong to cephalopoda. It emits abundant amount of cold light. The animal release abundant amount of light, pyrosoma, and some fishes, true fishes, also emit light, bioluminescence. Emission of light by living organisms is luminescence. Example, jellyfishes, squids, Chaetopterus, pyrosoma. Next one is UV rays. Wavelength of UV rays 100 nanometers to 380 nanometers. Only honeybees visualize the UV rays. Human beings unable to visualize. Wavelength from 100 nanometers to 280 nanometers known as UVA. Wavelength from more than 280 nanometers up to 320 nanometers UVB. Wavelength more than 320 nanometers up to 380 nanometers UVA. So UV rays wavelength is 100 nanometer to 380. Wavelength from 100 nanometer to 280 UVC. More than 280 up to 320 UVB. More than 320 nanometer to 380 nanometer UVA. You already know if the wavelength is less, penetration power is more. That's why UVC is more harmful. The ozone layer present in the stratosphere. Stratosphere is one of the layers in atmosphere. The ozone present in stratosphere. The ozone present in the stratosphere completely absorb the wavelength more than UVB. Means maybe UVB and UVA only sometimes reach if the ozone layer is thin, at the time UVB and UVA may reach the earth surface. If animals are exposed to UVB, cause snow blindness, cataracts, unable to visualize clearly, known as snow blindness, and they also develop cataracts. Normal cataracts is a age-old problem. So at old age, a thick layer is formed around the lens. So by surgery, the surgeon remove that layer. That is a age-old problem. But due to presence of UVB in atmosphere, at young stage also, nowadays, the children also develop cataracts. At any age, human beings develop cataracts. Next one, UVA. In presence of UVA, whenever we expose it to sunlight, UVA present in the sunlight convert the cholesterol into vitamin D. So some UV rays, particularly more wavelength, penetration power is less, so they are less harmful. The less harmful UV rays converts cholesterol present in the skin into vitamin D. So this is about UV rays. So solar radiation of wavelength 100 nanometers to 380 nanometers known as UV rays, ultraviolet rays. So wavelength from 100 nanometer to 280 nanometer, ultraviolet C. Wavelength more than 280 nanometers up to 320 nanometers, UVB. Wavelength more than 320 nanometers up to 380 nanometers, UVA. The ozone layer present in stratosphere completely prevent the reaching of UVC. So UVB or UVA may reach the earth surface. If UVB reach the earth surface, it causes snow blindness, blurred vision is not clear, or development of cataract. UVA convert the cholesterol present in the skin into vitamin D. So this is about effect of light. UV rays also solar radiation, one of the solar radiation. Now we discuss soil. Soil is another abiotic factor. Study of soil is known as pedology. Study of soil is known as pedology. The nature of soil depends upon the nature of soil depends upon the climate. Depends upon the climate and weathering process. The nature of soil depends upon the climate of that habitat and weathering process. What is habitat? Address of an animal. The organism where the organism lives. Address of the animal. Where the organism lives is known as habitat. So, for example, lion in den, rabbit in warren, branched tunnel. Branched tunnel is the address of rabbit. So, in this manner, the nature of soil influenced by climate and weathering process. What is weathering process? How soil is formed from the rock only due to wind current and water current from the rock, soil. So, some particle separated from the rock. Soil is another abiotic factor. Study of soil is known as pedology. The nature of soil depends upon the climatic condition and weathering process of that habitat. Next point is chemical composition, granule size and aggregation of granule. So these are some properties of soil. These properties decide the percolation and water holding capacity of the soil. Percolation means the water escape from the granule, or water holding. So the soil holds some water. So percolation and water holding capacity of the soil depends upon chemical composition, granule size and aggregation of granule. So aggregation, how the granules are come closer, empty places are present, or in some granules have a lot of empty places. If empty places are present between the granules, water holding capacity decreases, percolation increases, so the water escape. Along with these three properties, pH of soil and mineral composition, these five properties decide the type of vegetation of that habitat. Type of vegetation of that habitat. The vegetation decide the type of animals live in that habitat. Similarly, in ocean, sedimentary rocks decide the benthic forms. What are benthic forms? The organisms live at the bottom of the ocean, known as benthic forms. Now we discuss another abiotic factor, pressure. Pressure is another abiotic factor. Pressure on land is less when compared to pressure in water. On the land, we bear 1 atmosphere pressure. One atmosphere pressure. On land, organisms bear 1 atmosphere pressure. In water, pressure is more in water when compared to land. In water, for every 10 meters depth, 1 atmospheric pressure increases. 1 atmospheric pressure increases. So, pressure on land is less when compared to pressure in water. On the land, the terrestrial animals bear 1 atmosphere pressure. In water, for every 10 meters depth, 1 atmospheric pressure increases. So, the deep sea organisms are dorsiventrally flattened. So, they bear this pressure. Due to this pressure, the body is dorsiventrally flattened like leaf. In the trophosphere, what is trophosphere? Trophosphere is the part of atmosphere. What is atmosphere? Gaseous cover around the earth is atmosphere. The gaseous layer contact with the surface is known as atmosphere. 5 to 10 kilometer from the earth surface, that is the trophosphere. In trophosphere, with increasing height, temperature and pressure decreases. Temperature and pressure decreases. That's why hill stations are so. Temperature is less in hill station. Why? So hill station is away from the sea level, few thousand meters away from the sea level. So in trophosphere, what is the trophosphere? The atmospheric layer contact with the earth surface is known as the trophosphere. It is from 5 to 10 kilometers above the earth surface. In trophosphere, with increasing height, temperature and pressure decreases. So you already know what is air. Air is a mixture of gases. Oxygen also part of the air. So hemoglobin, in first year we discussed the hemoglobin binding capacity depends upon the partial pressure of oxygen. You already know. In tissues, partial pressure of oxygen is 40 mmHg. What is partial pressure? Pressure of a gas in mixture of gases is known as partial pressure. Partial pressure of oxygen in tissues 40 mmHg. At 40 mmHg, hemoglobin saturation is 75%. Means hemoglobin bind to 3 oxygen molecule. In oxygenated blood vessels, partial pressure of oxygen 95. At 95, 97% is saturated. That means partial pressure increases, hemoglobin saturation increases to some extent. So in troposphere, with increasing height, partial pressure of oxygen decreases. If partial pressure of oxygen decreases, hemoglobin binding capacity to oxygen decreases. For example, Rohtang Pass. Rohtang Pass is a place near Manali. Similarly, Manas Sarovar. Manas Sarovar in Tibet. Rohtang Pass near Manali. Kulu Manali. And height is about 3,500 meters. More than 3,500 meters from Earth's surface. So partial pressure of oxygen decreases. If anyone reach the Rohtang Pass or Manas Sarovar, within few days, that person is suffering from altitude sickness. Altitude sickness. What are the symptoms of altitude sickness? Nausea, feeling of sickness, vomiting occur, fatigue, a great tiredness known as fatigue, heart palpitations, irregular heartbeat, rapid heartbeat, heart palpitation are the symptoms of altitude sickness. So generally we overcome altitude sickness within few days. How? By physiological adaptation, change in the body function, and overcome the altitude sickness. How? So at the time what happened? More than 3,500 meter, partial pressure of oxygen decreases. So even though oxygen available, oxygen failed to bind to hemoglobin effectively. At the time, kidneys release a hormone, erythropoietin. Erythropoietin hormone stimulates the stem cells present in the bone marrow. Stem cells produce blood cells. Hemopoietic stem cell. Hemo means blood, poietic means production. The stem cell produce different types of blood cells known as hemopoietic stem cell. The erythropoietin hormone stimulates the hemopoietic stem cell. Now the hemopoietic stem cell undergo division and produce different types. So in this manner, erythrocytic number, RBC number increases. So in the kid, whenever oxygen concentration low, at the time kidneys release erythropoietin, it stimulates the hemopoietic stem cell. As a result, new RBC are formed, red blood corpuscles. So the people stay at high altitude, they exhibit polycythemia. What is polycythemia? More number of RBC. Generally human being possess 50 lakhs to 55 lakhs or 5 million to 5.5 million RBC. The people stay at high altitude, more than 55 lakhs, 70 lakhs or 75 lakh RBC. More RBC are present, but binding capacity of oxygen decreases. But more number of RBC are present, automatically more amount of hemoglobin. They possess more amount of hemoglobin. So more amount of oxygen also circulated to various parts of the body. For example, people living at plain, hemoglobin may bind to 4 oxygen molecule. People living at high altitude, hemoglobin bind to 3 oxygen molecule, but more amount of hemoglobin present in people living at polycythemia. Moreover, breathing rate increases, duration of inspiration decreases, duration of expiration increases, breathing rate increases. Breathing rate increases. Eliminate excess amount of carbon dioxide and overcome the altitude sickness. Overcome the altitude sickness. But the people living at hill area contain more number of RBC more amount of hemoglobin. People living in plain area, less number of RBC, but hemoglobin binding capacity of plain area people more when compared to people living at high altitude. So here the body exhibit physiological adaptation. So change occur in the body function and adapted to live at high altitude. So pressure is another abiotic factor. Pressure on land is 1 atmosphere. Pressure in water is more when compared to pressure on organisms on terrestrial animals or land. In water, for every 10 meters depth, 1 atmospheric pressure increases. So deep sea animals bear this pressure. So they exhibit some adaptation. Next class we discuss the adaptation. So the deep-seated animals are dorsiventrally flattened like leaf. So next one is troposphere. What is a troposphere? The layer of atmosphere contact with the earth surface is known as a troposphere. In troposphere, with increasing height, temperature and pressure decreases. For example, if we stay or if we reach the Rohtang Pass near Manali or Manasarovar, Tibet, so within 1 or 2 days, the people suffering from altitude sickness. Why? Partial pressure of oxygen become half at that height. If partial pressure of oxygen decreases, oxygen fail to bind to hemoglobin. So we fail to perform respiration. Sufficient amount of oxygen not circulated to all parts of the body. At the time, people initially few days they suffer from altitude sickness. What are the symptoms of altitude sickness? Nausea, feeling of sickness, vomitings, fatigue, great tiredness, heart palpitation, rapid heartbeat. Within few days, our body overcome the altitude sickness. How our body overcome the altitude sickness? When the oxygen concentration is low, kidneys produce erythropoietin hormone. Erythropoietin hormone stimulates the hemopoietic stem cell and it produces more number of RBC. So people stay at high altitude, possess more number of RBC, that is polycythemia. But hemoglobin, so oxygen binding capacity of people living at high altitude less, but more number of RBC are present per cubic millimeter. So sufficient abundant amount of oxygen present in people stay at high altitude. Moreover, breathing rate is more in people living at high altitude. Normal breathing rate is 12 to 16 times. So the people living at high altitude more than 12 to 16 times. How breathing rate is increases? Reduce the duration of inspiration and increase the duration of expiration and eliminate the excess amount of carbon dioxide accumulated in the body. So it is a physiological adaptation. So change occur in the body functions and overcome the altitude sickness. In the next class, we discuss adaptation. Different types of habitats have different types of abiotic factor. In some habits, more water. In some habits, no water. In some habits, less water. In some habits, more temperature. Some less temperature. In this manner, different types of habitat have different types of abiotic factor. How the organisms overcome and lead comfortable life in different habitats. That means in the next class we are going to discuss thermoregulators, conformers and different types of adaptation shown by different animal groups to overcome the unfavorable climatic conditions.